Hello everybody, in this lesson I will discuss multiplication and division of integers. Before we start, let's look at some rules. If you multiply two numbers with the same sign, the answer will be positive. A positive times a positive is a positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. If you multiply two numbers with different signs, the answer will be negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. There's also rules for division. If you divide two numbers with the same sign, the answer will be positive. A positive divided by a positive is a positive. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. And if you divide two numbers with different signs, the answer will be negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Let's look at more examples. So the first one, there's bracket 6 minus 7 times bracket negative 3 plus 4. So again, we're going to do the brackets first, wait with the times, do the bracket first. So on the first bracket, it's 6 minus 7 is negative 1 times, and then the second bracket, minus 3 plus 4 is 1. And then we're going to say a minus or a negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 1 is 1. Now on the next one, here, this multiplication is actually joining those two together. And the plus, this plus separates them. And then here we find 4 times 4 that we're going to do. So let's do this bracket first. 5 times 4 is 20 times negative 3 plus, and then here 4 times 4 is 16 equals. Now we can do this bracket. So we can say positive times a negative is negative, and 20 times 3 is 60 plus 16. And then it's negative 60 plus 16 is negative 44. On this one, the bracket joins negative 1 times 8. The plus separates, and this bracket 7 minus 5 is joined. So we can start here. A negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 8 is 8. This plus is that plus. 7 minus 5 is 2. And then negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. You owe me 8, you pay me 2. Last one. The 64 minus 16 inside the bracket we will do first. So 64 minus 16 is 48. Divide by negative 6. And now you're going to say a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 48 divided by 6 is 8. Simplify the following expressions. So now we add a few variables. So what we do is here, if there's nothing, there's an invisible plus. So we will start by saying a plus times a minus is a minus. 3 times 4 is 12a. And then the next term, we will say a negative times a negative is a positive 2a. And then they are like terms, so we can add them. Negative 12a plus 2a is negative 10a. The next example. Again, if there's no sign, there's an invisible plus. So we are going to say plus times a negative is a negative. 2 times 4 is 8. And then what happened on the x's? Remember, the rule is when you multiply and the bases are the same, you add exponents. So that's why that sum's answer was negative 8x squared. And then the last term, negative times a negative is a positive 5x. And then you cannot take that one further since x squared and x, they are not like terms. On this one, we will start by saying a minus times a minus is a plus. 5 times 3 is 15. And then a times a is a squared. Bases are the same. We add exponents, and then the b will just write with. And then the next term, a plus times a negative is negative 2ab squared. Why? B times b, when you multiply, you add exponents. And then you cannot add those two since they are not like terms. One is a squared b and the other is ab squared. Let's look at some division. A minus divided by a minus is a plus. And then we say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into 6 3 times. And then there's nothing that can cancel out with the y, therefore the answer plus 3y. On this one, a plus, if there's nothing, there's an invisible plus. Divide by a negative is a negative. And then we say 5 goes in itself once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. And then on top, on the numerator, x squared y is the same as x times x over y. And at the denominator, the bottom, you've got x times y. So this one and that one can cancel. The y and the y can cancel. Therefore, you're left with negative 5x. Now I'm going to explain something that we call the distributive property of multiplication. So in normal English, the word distribute means that you will now have something and you will give it out to everybody. So what is happening with the distributive property is, if we look at the first example here on the left, you're going to take this negative and you are going to distribute it into both terms there. So you're going to say a minus times an invisible plus is a minus 5y, and a negative times a positive is a negative 3. And then again, they are not like terms, so you can't add them. Next example. Using the distributive property of multiplication means we're going to say negative 2 times 4x is negative 8x, because a minus times a plus is a minus. And then for the next one, negative 2 times negative 5 is plus 10. And again, you cannot add them. They are not like terms. The third example here on the right, if there's nothing in front of 2, there's an invisible plus. Using the distributive property means the 2a will multiply with the minus 2b. So a plus times a negative is a negative. 2 times 2 is 4ab. And then again, the plus 2a will multiply with plus 2. So plus times a plus is a plus. 2a times 2 is 4a. And yet again, they are not like terms, so you can't add them. The next example down here, negative 5 times the 3a and negative 5 times negative 2b. So we will say a negative times a positive is negative. 5 times 3 is 15a. And then the next one, a negative times a negative is a positive. 5 times 2 is 10b. And then here on the 2a, there's nothing that can happen there, so it will just write with as well as the minus 6b. And now in the next step, I find like terms there, so I can add them. Negative 15a plus 2a is negative 13a, and plus 10b minus 6b is 4b. And that's where you stop, since a and b are not like terms. Now on the next example, what happened here, can you see the 4 is now written at the back? Usually, if you look at example 2, can you see the 2 was in front? Now the 4 is at the back. But since there's no sign there and the 4 stands directly next to the bracket, it still means distributive property. So you're going to multiply the 4 into the 2x, so it becomes 8x, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And then if you look at the last example, it looks as if it's the same as this one, but it's definitely not, since there is now a bracket and then a plus 4. So it means it's a separate term. So you cannot multiply that one in. It has to stand directly next to the bracket for you to use the distributive property. So now in this one, if you want to get rid of the brackets, it's as if there's an invisible one in front, and then you can multiply the one in. So you end with 2x minus 3. You are actually just removing the brackets. And the plus 4 writes with. And then nothing can add to 2x, but you can say negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. Let's look at the next two examples. We have to simplify the following expressions. Now, there's a very important thing that you must keep in mind, and that is terms are separated by plus and minus and joined by multiplication and division and brackets. So the 5x minus 2x is joined with the bracket, but then that divide x joins them together like that. So in fact, this sum you can rewrite as 3x, and then the plus 8x divided by 2, you write it like that. And then the next one you write the minus, and then 5x minus 2x on top as the numerator, divide by x. And now you can work with your sum. So first of all, there's nothing that you can do with 3x. That one writes with. And then in the next term, you're going to say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. So you're left with plus 4x. And then in the last term, you wait with this minus. And now you're going to do the numerator first by saying 5x minus 2x is 3x. So this minus is that minus. 5x minus 2x is 3x over x. And then in the next step, you can add 3x plus 4x is 7x. And then the last term, you can say the x and the x cancel each other out. And you're left with 7x minus 3. And then they are not like terms, so you cannot add them. On the right here, when we simplify this one, now we're going to multiply in the negative 2 into 3a squared. So a negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 3 is 6a squared b. And then this one, a plus times a negative is negative 2a squared b. Everything over minus 2ab squared. And then on top here, on the numerator, they are like terms. They are both a squared b, so you can add them. So negative 6a squared b, negative 2a squared b is negative 8a squared b. Everything over negative 2ab squared. And now we can say a minus divided by a minus is a plus. 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. And then on the variables, on the top at the numerator, we've got a times ab over, and the denominator at the bottom, there's a, b, b. So the a and the a can cancel, a b and a b can cancel, and that's why you're left with plus 4a over b. In the next video, I will deal with squares, cubes, and roots or surds in integers. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next video.